Welcome to the University of Maryland. Please take this opportunity to silence your cell phone and anything else that might beep or buzz. Please take note of the nearest exit from the venue in case of emergency. Thank you for joining us on this important day.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Presiding over today's exercises, Philip Merrill College of Journalism's Dean, Lucy Dalglish.
Graduates of the class of December 2016, honored guests, faculty, staff, parents, and friends, welcome to the Philip Merrill College of Journalism commencement ceremony. We are proud to honor the women and men who have completed the requirements for degrees of Doctor of Philosophy, Master of Art in Journalism, Master of Journalism, and Bachelor of Arts in Journalism. First, let me introduce you to the members of the platform party. They will each stand as their name is called and remain standing until everyone has been introduced. I ask that the audience withhold your applause until I've completed the introductions. First, we have today's commencement speaker, visiting professor Constance Mitchell-Ford. Associate Dean and Director of our Master's Program, Rafael Lorente. Professor and Merrill College's Director of Research, Sarah Oates. Doctoral Candidate, Robert Wells. Associate Professor and Director of Merrill's Doctoral Program, Ron Yaros. Director of Internships and Career Development, Adrienne Flynn. Associate Dean and Director of Undergraduate Programs and our Equity Officer, Olive Reed. Today's student speaker, Dymond Green. Merrill Lecturer, Director of Assessments and Director of the Graduate Multimedia Graduate Certificate Program, Christine Harvey. Associate Professor Ira Chinoy, Director of our Capital News Service Annapolis Bureau, Karen Denny, Assistant Professor Kalyani Chadha, Director of Student Services, Josh Madden. Continuing in the second row, we have Professor Carl Sessions Stepp, Associate Professor of Investigative Journalism, Deborah Nelson, Director of our Capital News Service Broadcast Bureau, Sue Kopen-Katzif, Professor of the Practice and Director of the Shirley Povich Center for Sports Journalism, George Solomon, Assistant Dean for External Relations, Lily Ashworth, Professor and former Dean, Kevin Close, Assistant Professor, Nicholas Diakopoulos, Merrill's Able Professor in Baltimore Journalism, Sandy Beniski, Director of our Hubert H. Humphrey Fellows Program, Sarap Radha, Broadcast Lecturer, Josh Davidsburg, Broadcast Lecturer, Cassandra Clayton, Assistant Director of the Shirley Povich Center for Sports Journalism and Adjunct Professor Beth Meacham, and Broadcast Lecturer and our Student Marshal Bethany Swain. And serving as our announcer, our Senior Communications Manager Dave Ottolini. Please be seated, everyone. Now that those formalities are over, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us on this cold December morning to celebrate the achievements of these Merrill College graduates. Thank you especially to those of you who traveled great distances to be here today. I've been told of at least one family that came all the way from Brazil to join us today. I always find commencement to be an inspiring and uplifting experience. You know, Merrill College is pretty small compared to some of the giant programs on this campus. We're almost like a family. By the time our students leave us, we feel a lot like you parents did when you became empty nesters a few years ago. We're sad to see them go, but so pleased to witness their excitement to get on with the next stage of their life as journalists. This group of December graduates is particularly impressive. A significant number of you are graduating in under 4 years. Congratulations. The next order of business this morning is to follow our custom to invite a leader in the field of journalism to speak, offering our graduates sage advice. Our keynote speaker, Constance Mitchell-Ford, is a financial journalist who spent more than 3 decades covering economics, banking, investing, and real estate. Most of those years were spent at the Wall Street Journal in New York, most recently as the Global Real Estate and Property Bureau Chief. Under her leadership, reporters in the real estate group won dozens of journalism awards, and Ford personally received the Scripps Howard National Journalism Award for Business and Economics Reporting in 2007 for stories about the subprime mortgage crisis. She received an undergraduate degree in journalism from the University of Maryland and a graduate degree in economics from the State University of New York at Stony Brook. Until joining Merrill College as a visiting professor in September, she had worked as an adjunct lecturer in business and economics reporting for Columbia University's Graduate School of Journalism. We are delighted to welcome back to College Park, Connie Mitchell-Ford. Please welcome her.
Good morning, Dean Dalglish. Welcome, members of the faculty, the graduating class of 2016, your families, friends, parents, and partners. Good morning and welcome, everyone. I want to begin my remarks by congratulating you and asking you to join me in giving yourselves a round of applause. Congratulations to you all. One of the classes I taught this past semester was Journalism 201, where among many other things, we discussed libel and how to keep from getting sued. After the class, one of my students asked if I had ever been sued in my 35 years of journalism. And I thought about it for a second and said, you know, I've been threatened 4 times, and each time it was from Donald Trump. The threats weren't always to me personally, but to my team, which was responsible for writing about the major real estate developers in the United States and around the world. And over the years, we've written some stories about the Trump Organization, from complaints about Trump University, issues about branding. As you probably know, some of the buildings you see that say Trump, many of them are owned and were built by that organization, but some were branding licenses. So we wrote about that. We wrote about contractors, Atlantic City properties, and many other things. Some of the stories were written many years ago, but they bubbled up again during the presidential campaign. So I'm really proud and happy that we wrote those stories when we did. The Trump Organization wasn't always happy with the direction of the reporting, and sometimes he would threaten a suit, but they never did. And the reason is because the stories were accurate, they were well reported, and they were fair. Now, it's important to note that we didn't write these stories to embarrass the company. In fact, we often also wrote very positive stories about the company and the things that they were doing when the stories warranted that. But the reason why we did write those stories is because we wanted to shed light on how companies conducted themselves, which was instructive to our readers. We wrote those stories because our readers in the US and around the world wanted to know how business in the United States of America gets done. They wanted to know the good points, but they also wanted to know the bad points. As long as humans wish to satisfy their need to know, journalism will be an important and needed profession. Before smartphones and tweets and television and radio, indeed before the printing press, there were men and women who collected information about the weather, about events in the village, about births, deaths, and about wars. First, they collected and disseminated the information word of mouth. Then, by markings on pieces of wood and characters on tablets, which evolved into written language. The collection of information was almost certainly incidental to commerce and trade and agriculture. But very early on, it became clear that accurate information was one of the most valuable commodities on the planet. And please note that in this era of fake news, the word accurate makes information more important and more valuable than ever. There's no mystery why freedom of the press and respect for journalism is found in the bedrock of democracy. Journalists should never be immune from criticism and critique, but neither should journalists be under attack for seeking and writing uncomfortable truths and opinions. The enemies of the press and journalists are also often the enemies of free and fair societies, and we should all be vigilant when hate speak is directed against the press. It is going to be up to each of you as journalists to be the truth sayers of a new generation. It is not going to be easy, but nothing that is worthwhile is ever easy. But if you enjoy challenge, if you enjoy making the world a better place, if you enjoy making a difference in the lives of millions of people by providing accurate information, you will enjoy your life as a journalist. But it's also important to find your special purpose in journalism. In my career, I found my special purpose by writing about economics and business. I was attracted to the field because I wanted to better understand and answer a lot of very complex questions, such as why are some people rich and some people poor? Why do some countries thrive while others can barely feed their populations? Why don't people always make the rational decisions that economists say they should make? And are corporate chiefs really worth those multi-million-dollar packages? I never found the complete answers to those questions because some of them are just hard to answer. But I had a wonderful time writing stories that filled in little pieces of the puzzle to help explain partly those questions. And I was fortunate to have had a job that allowed me to travel around the world to write about a wide range of topics, including South Africa's economy after apartheid. I met with the European leaders and economic leaders in Davos, Switzerland, to better understand the European economy, and had the opportunity to interview China's economic leaders to explain how that phenomenal country became the world's factory floor. In closing, I urge you all, class of 2016, to find your special purpose in journalism and to be great at it. And most of all, enjoy the journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie, for those inspiring words. And this is something for your new office at Merrill Hall.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Sarah Oates and Dr. Ronald Yaros will assist Dean Douglas in presenting today's doctoral degree candidate.
successfully completed all requirements for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Journalism Studies. As his advisor, I would like to say a few words about Rob and his research. Rob, could you please come forward? If I pitched the story of Rob Wells and his dissertation as a story for reality TV, it would be rejected as too dramatic and too unlikely. But it happened, and I will tell you about it. And I will get through this without crying, because if I keep crying when I give PhDs, it's just going to put people off the program. We always knew that Rob was outstanding, but what he went through in the course of his program shows that he is extraordinary. Rob came to Merrill as an adjunct in business journalism, and we managed to trap him into doing a PhD. More seriously, Rob has always been destined to write a PhD. The PhD he wrote grew out of his long and distinguished career as a financial journalist and editor for organizations such as Dow Jones and Bloomberg. Rob posed the question in his dissertation of why and how prestigious national publications missed some of the key scandals in the mortgage crisis, and why a small trade publication did better and more entrepreneurial reporting. What Rob found was that newsroom leadership matters. Giving reporters time to develop a beat matters, and standing up for journalistic integrity matters. And great acts of journalism can and do happen in newsrooms large and small across this country. It's an important message for our times, and it's a message that Rob told very, very well. So it's not surprising to me that Rob wrote a great dissertation. He's a smart, curious, hardworking, and humble person. Well, that last quality makes him somewhat distinctive from many academics. It is Rob's wonderful quality of his delight in seeking knowledge that made him such a great student to work with. He's so engaged and eager to read and study and explore. He actually loves going to archives. Just ask him about it. It's making him a great professor, no doubt, and we're all pleased that he's already teaching and researching at the University of Arkansas. Now for the dramatic part. I am particularly delighted to see here, I think back there, Rob's wife, Deborah, and a huge, yay, and a huge team of supporters from both coasts. In Rob's final semester as a PhD student, doctors told Deborah and Rob that she had a terminal lung condition, and she would not survive long. But Deborah was able to get on the waiting list for a lung transplant. So Rob supported his wife through this while managing to finish all of his degree in 3 years, which is 2 years less than average. And I think a lot of it was written in hospital waiting rooms. Throughout this, Rob was optimistic, steady, making good progress, dealing with my criticisms and edits. Deborah had her successful lung transplant on a Monday. Rob defended his thesis on a Thursday. I am so happy that Rob is receiving his degree today. We all miss him here. His intelligence, his insight, his knowledge, his kind dedication to students and faculty and his fellow PhD students. But we know he will continue in the field and help move journalism forward.
Good morning. I would, hard act to follow, I'll tell you. I'd like to describe my research and then thank a number of people who are here who helped make it happen. So after I covered the 2008 financial crisis, I felt we had really missed something profound. I felt we could have done a much better job as journalists covering this epic economic event. So my research question really came down to, how can business journalism improve? And how can it better serve the public? My research tackled this episode that was a clear-cut failure in business journalism, and that was the savings and loan crisis in the 1980s. This is one of the worst financial scandals in U.S. history. It cost the taxpayers $124 billion. That would be about $1,300 per American household at the time. So you can just think of your vacation going out the door because of a bailout. The major newspapers at the time really failed to piece this together. It was staring them in the face, and that's why I call it a failure. I looked at one newspaper, though, that did an extraordinary job. It was a small trade newspaper called National Thrift News. It broke this pivotal story called the Keating 5 scandal. And this was where a wealthy real estate developer gave 5 U.S. senators, a lot of campaign contributions, got them to intervene in the regulatory process, get the regulators to back off, and to bend the rules. And I wanted to know how this small trade newspaper could have beaten the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times and American Banker and all of these larger institutions. And very few academics actually look at this genre of the trade press, these publications designed for just business audience. So to answer this question, I went to the archives and analyzed the sourcing and narrative content and all of this material for 850 news articles, coded them individually from 1983 through 1992 for the Keating case and another financial fraud case down in Florida called Centrust. And I interviewed former reporters and regulators and industry officials about the news coverage. And I basically concluded that the National Thrift News had excelled because it had the guts to stand up to powerful businesses and advertisers. It was very unusual at the time. And it broke news and it demanded respect, and it got it. So my dissertation provides a historical analysis of business journalism, describes its history, why it's been too cozy with the markets, and I make some recommendations on how business journalism can improve over time. And this will be my research agenda going forward. I'm very proud of this work, but it never would have happened without the support of a lot of people in this room here. My all-star dissertation committee was quite tough on me and held me to very high standards. You can see the quality of person here. Dr. Oates edited and supported me throughout this whole process. Also, Dr. David Cecilia, who's not here in the history department, was instrumental, as were Kalyani Chadha and Ira Chenoy and Mark Feldstein. Really an outstanding group of folks who really pushed me hard on this. They're very generous with their time, and I appreciate it. I taught at Merrill College for over a period of 5 years, and I made a lot of friends here. I want to thank Sean Mussadin. I want to thank Deborah Nelson, Dr. Chenoy, of course, Pallavi Guha, and Carol Lee, and James Gatschow. All these folks went out of their way to help me. Dean Dalglish was a major supporter of mine. I just can't thank you enough for everything you did for me. You made this business journalism course a priority here, and it's continuing after I leave, and I appreciate that. It's also, I just have to note that Sandy Beniski really did a lot to allow me to collaborate with her class. She also made a critical contact at the University of Maryland Medical Center that allowed my wife to have a lung transplant. That was absolutely amazing. So people will ask me, are you ready for 2016 to be over after all this? And I see the year differently. I mean, I've found out who my friends were this time, and they're here in the audience. My sister, Sue Carson, and her husband, Charlie, are here. My sister, Nancy Kanishi, her husband, Skip. My nephew, Ted, surprised me last night from California. They all flew in. I have my neighbors, Harry and Sandy Kramer, are here. I have my friends from Rhode Island, Julia Graham, Nancy Graham, and Jill Johnnon. These are folks who stood by me, and I hope you can forge friendships like this who will come into your rescue when things get rough. And there's no way that you could do a project like this without a supportive spouse. My wife, Deborah, has stood by me throughout this entire process, even in the hospital bed. And she wasn't here for the defense because she was recovering from surgery. She's here today. And just, it's a very joyful period in my life, and thank you all for your support.
It is my privilege to present Rob Wells before Dean Dalglish and the college faculty as eligible to be invested with the doctoral hood, displaying Maryland's academic colors and the edge of blue reflecting his earned degree of philosophy. Dean Dalglish, in accordance with the recommendation of his examining committee, the journalism graduate faculty, and the graduate council, I request that you recognize Mr. Wells for his accomplishments and welcome him to the honorable company of learned men and women.
I am very pleased to accept the faculty's recommendation, and I'm very honored to welcome Robert Wells to the growing rank of students of the Merrill College of Journalism who have received the highest degree awarded by this, or indeed, any university.
Associate Dean Rafael Lorente and Adrienne Flynn will now present the master's degree candidates. Each candidate will receive a lithograph and congratulations from Dean Dalglish.
Will those candidates who are here to receive master's degrees from the Philip Merrill College of Journalism please rise and approach the stage? In accordance with the recommendation of the faculty of the college, please recognize these candidates who have successfully completed all requirements for the degrees of Master of Arts and Master of Journalism. Rachel McNair. Destiny Muse. Daniel Trielli. Carl Hilly.
Graduates, please be seated. Associate Dean Olive Reed and Chris Harvey will now present the undergraduate degree candidates to receive lithographs and congratulations from Dean Dalglish.
Will all undergraduate degree candidates please rise to receive lithograph and our congratulations? In accordance with the recommendation of the faculty of the Philip Merrill College of Journalism, please recognize those candidates who believe they are here to receive their degrees of Bachelor of Arts in Journalism. Yeah, ready. Okay. Shane Mitchell Raphael. Janelle Andrea Netterville. Victoria Ann Tanner. Eli Abraham Zimmerman. Kelsey Marie Cardes. Molly Ann Podlesny. Brittany Chang. Matthew Scott Ellentuck. Benjamin Isaac Harris. Jake Russell. Maria Bakova. Miran Shifra. Destiny Renee Baldwin. Christine Rita Albel. Anna Elizabeth Blickenstaff. Ellen Back. Michelle Chavez. Karen Daniela Castillo. Kimberly Escobar. Lauren Ashley Borg. Dana Gillespie.
Congratulations.
Elena Maria Petalino.
Oh, where have you been?
Dymond Gabrielle Green.
It is an ancient university tradition to give an outstanding graduate selected by our undergraduate students the opportunity to address the commencement assembly on behalf of fellow students. This year, they have selected Dymond Green to represent them. Dymond is a graduating senior from Baltimore who hopes to pursue a career in broadcast journalism. She currently works for the university's Department of Transportation Services, where she began as a student bus operator and worked her way up to serving as safety and policy manager. She is a member of the National Press Photographers Association, the Society of Professional Journalists, the university's National Association of Black Journalists chapter, and UNI-TV Media. She served as president of the Sisterhood of Unity and Love at the Nyamburu Cultural Center. She was awarded the Gilman International Scholarship to study abroad at the University of Ghana in the spring of 2015, and also participated in a photography study abroad program in Oaxaca, Mexico. Dymond would like to thank her family, friends, and professors at Merrill College and the Academic Achievement Program for their support and opportunity to pursue a higher education. Please join me in welcoming to the podium Dymond Green.
Welcome, class of 2016. We did it. And welcome, family and friends, distinguished professors and faculty. It's an honor to be standing before you all. I'm not sure who nominated or selected me to be up here, but here I am. And to my fellow December graduates, whether you're graduating a semester early or a semester late, or many semesters late, no judgment. We've all worked really hard to get here, from lugging that huge tape broadcast camera up to Night Hall. And I heard they got SD cameras now, so the freshmen will not know the struggle of the tape. To staying up all night in the news bubble, editing packages and writing articles, to skipping the less important classes to cover stories. We've all been there. And I think we can all agree that this was a pretty hectic final semester. I almost wrote this speech the way I wrote all my papers in college the night before. But nevertheless, this is our day, and I am proud of our accomplishments. As my introduction stated, I come from humble beginnings, born and raised in Baltimore. Many people don't know that I wasn't initially accepted into the University of Maryland. It was the Academic Achievement Program, also known as AAP, that brought me here to the university. This program targets low-income, first-generation minority students in Baltimore City and Prince George's County whose grades and SAT scores weren't quite high enough to get into the University of Maryland. We had to undergo a really rigorous summer program to prove that we could succeed and survive at this college. And so, in spite of our life circumstances, AAP heard our stories. They overlooked those numbers and gave us a chance to come to Maryland. And with the subsequent funding and support and resources, they gave us a chance to prove that we're just not another statistic. And so I stand before you, not a product of pity or remorse or just tribulation, but of triumph and compassion. And the main reason this program was put into place was to help diversify Maryland. And I'm proud to live in a place that cares about equal representation, because we're about to enter an era where our differences will ultimately divide us even more. But College Park understands the importance of diversity. They understand the importance of diversity, not just in bodies, but in ideals. Despite the fact that one of the most recognized presidents of this university denied Black students admittance into the university, and the first Black student wasn't enrolled until 1951. Also, despite the fact that many of the buildings we went to class in were built with the hands of slaves. Despite all of that, College Park has done its part in creating safe spaces and funding organizations and programs for underrepresented groups, and being conducive to diverse outlooks that spark innovation. With that being said, this is not just a celebration. We've been endowed by the university to receive what it's taught us, apply it to the real world, and make change. And as journalists, we hold a responsibility, not just to commit ourselves to diversifying newsrooms, improving newsroom ratios, or filling quotas, because identities can't be and aren't captured in numbers. But also, we have a responsibility to serve and inform an increasingly diverse nation. And it is equally important that we demand newsrooms to be reflective of the communities they serve. And graduates, it's also important that we use our own tools in journalism, whether that be videography, reporting, editing, anchoring, hosting, writing as well. And as journalists, we have the power to influence humanity, spark change, and inspire the world. Thank you.
Thank you for your inspiring words, Dymond. We're very proud of you. That was awesome, Dymond. Thank you. While all students work hard to earn their degrees, there are a few who deserve special recognition because of their accomplishments. In your program, you will find the names of this year's award recipients as recommended by members of our faculty.
Associate Professor Dr. Ira Shenoy will recognize our top broadcast news student for this commencement.
Would Christine Aubel please come forward? While Christine is coming up, I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. I'm really delighted to present this award to Christine, come on over, as the Outstanding Broadcast Senior. I got to know Christine this semester when she was a student in my course on the past, present, and future of emerging media. She is a teacher's dream come true. She always came to class prepared, and I could always count on her to jump in and get the conversation started. And she's an accomplished researcher and writer as well. I polled my colleagues, and the verdict here is universal. And Kalyani Chadha, who runs the Media, Self, and Society program in College Park Scholars, first got to know Christine when Christine was a freshman, and she told me this. What struck me about Christine from the outset was that she was that rare combination of bright, focused, and really interested in journalism. Her comments in class were always measured and thoughtful. She's the sort of person who always does more. On campus, she has been a copy editor at the Diamondback, reporter for WMUC Radio, a writer for Unwind magazine, behind-the-scenes TV production volunteer at Capital News Service. She also produced weekly podcasts for the Philip Merrill College website. There's more. She's been a photographer for Merrill newspaper, handled social media for a surfing website, and volunteered at public broadcasting station in Washington, D.C. In 2014, she was a news intern at NBC 40 in New Jersey, and last summer she interned at another New Jersey broadcaster. Her supervisor summed up his glowing evaluation of Christine this way. She will be a valuable asset to the news outlet that's fortunate enough to hire her. And lest you think she is one-dimensional, all journalism all the time, she's not. I did a little digging here. She ran a half marathon in New York this semester, and her resume reveals that she has worked as a lifeguard for the Margate City Beach Patrol in New Jersey since 2010. So I Googled an image of that beach, and a hot summer day, it is wall-to-wall people. So if you do the math, it means that she's been in positions of serious responsibility going well back into her high school years. She's also a double major, journalism and Spanish, and studied abroad in Barcelona, and she's been selected for membership in not one, not two, but 3 honor societies, and she's done all of this by managing to pull down a grade point average just shy of 4.0. So I know Christine will be a success in whatever path she chooses, and she will continue to make us proud. So good luck out there. When you go on to light up the world, just don't forget us village people here, all right? So, and this is for you, and a hand for Christine.
Thank you so much.
And this is for you and me.
Karen Denny will now recognize our top multimedia news student for this commencement.
Will Molly Ann Podlesny please come forward? I follow Molly Podlesny's Twitter feed, the handle formerly known as Biggie Malls. Anyone else? Anyone else follow? Good, because that makes 1,489 of us. We all should, because Molly is bringing old school journalists like myself into a vitally important way of sharing news. I missed out on having Molly in my class, so I'm going to share with you some mentions from the lucky instructors here at Maryland who did. From Professor Carl Stepp, she is the whole package, smart, funny, professional, great thinker, researcher and reporter, fine writer, and classroom leader. From Kevin Blackistone, who taught a course on critical examination of sports coverage. We are not in the business of simply turning out new journalists. More importantly, we are in the business of turning out new critical thinkers in journalism, of which Molly is in the vanguard. She was as insightful and perceptive a student as I've ever seen, and her observations were keen and enlightening. She is the exact type of journalist this college will be proud to have helped mold. And finally, from Sean Mussenden, who runs the Capital News Service Digital Bureau. He slacked me this from somewhere in remote New Zealand, where he is right now. Molly did stellar work on the social desk at USA Today, great work as a visual journalist and social editor for CNS, and is heading to SB Nation after graduation. Molly is humble and absolutely brilliant. She has an ability to tap into the digital zeitgeist in a way that we older people assume all millennials are capable of, but in truth is a very rare commodity. Her Twitter is witty, hilarious, original, unique, with a sharp, engaging voice. If we're going to rethink how we get quality, fact-based journalism to an audience large enough to make a difference, Molly and her brethren will be critical. Now, everyone, get out your phones and tweet a congratulations to Deck the Malls. Congratulations, Molly. Congrats. Oh, he wants a picture. Sorry, Carol.
Assistant Professor Kalyani Chadha will now recognize this commencement's Kappa Tau Alpha awardees.
Kappa Tau Alpha was founded in 1910 at the University of Missouri. It is the nationally recognized honor society for those university individuals pursuing scholarship in the field of journalism. Established in 1961, the Merrill chapter has been recognizing academic excellence among its graduates for over 50 years. Each year, our chapter recognizes those students who have academically performed in an outstanding manner. The following students have responded to that recognition. Will the following new initiates please come forward to receive your Kappa Tau Alpha certificate? Please remain at the podium after receiving your award. Christine Arbel and Molly Ann Podlesny. Please join me once again in congratulating these academically talented students. At this time, we would also like to recognize Kappa Tau Alpha's Top Scholar Award winner, and the award winner is Christine Arbel.
Josh Madden will now present this commencement's Outstanding Service Award.
Will Molly Podlesny please come to the stage? The Merrill College is blessed by many things that contribute to its success, but many of our programs would not be so successful without the dedication of student volunteers. We've recognized some of these students in your program. They've served the college in multiple roles, including participation in orientation, recruitment, and special events. One student in particular has provided exemplary volunteer service. On behalf of Merrill College, I'm pleased to recognize Molly with our Outstanding Service Award.
Rafael Lorente will now recognize this commencement's top master's student.
Daniel Trielli, please come on up. So I'll tell you a little bit about Daniel as he makes his way up. Early last year, as the Master's Admissions Committee was reviewing applications, there was one candidate who was a little different from the rest. First, he had 11 years of real-world journalism experience. Second, he knew before he came here that he wanted to focus on data journalism, specifically investigative data journalism. And finally, he's from Brazil. We get international students, but we don't often get 11-year veterans of Brazilian journalism. Getting Daniel here was a bit of a challenge. Without going into specifics, we were not the only journalism program that he applied to. And a few of the others saw the potential that we did. So we had to work real hard to get him here. But luckily for us, and we think for Daniel as well, he chose Merrill. In his time with us, Daniel has excelled in and out of the classroom. He's taken advantage of just about every opportunity in data journalism that we could offer, and he may have created a couple of extra ones. According to Nick Diakopoulos, our computational journalism professor, and this is a quote because I'm not smart enough to write this, Daniel has been involved with cutting-edge algorithmic accountability reporting. His ever-advancing data analysis and visualization skills led to 3 highly unique online articles published by Slate. The articles exposed biases in the way Google surfaced and presented web results and news about the presidential candidates in the past election, adding new insights and knowledge of how search engines mediate access to political information. When I asked some of the other faculty about Daniel, here's a couple of the things they said. Quote, one of the best master's students we've ever had in this program, unquote. That's a really high bar. Exceptional, said another one. And finally, one of them said, his contributions are incredibly substantive, both serving to enhance the work of others while producing an end product that stands on its own merits. He is simply impressive, and his contributions to the program tremendous. Those last comments about the work of others are key. This is a student who could have come here and simply made himself better, and that would have been fine. But whether he was helping make sense of the election results a month and a half ago, or working with student reporters looking into housing issues in Baltimore, Daniel has been like an extra instructor in our program, both with other master's students and with undergraduate students. He learns, he researches, and he teaches all at once. And that's essentially the description that some of these PhD professors back here fit. So we're really pleased that he has decided to continue his studies and pursue a PhD. And now we got to convince him that he should do it here. Somebody stole your award? Oh. They hid it under my chair.
Congratulations to our graduates and to our award winners. As we conclude our ceremony, I have a few thoughts to share with our graduates. You are entering journalism at an exciting and unsettling time. Many of you covered the political conventions and election results for Capitol News Service. You witnessed an exceptional political campaign. All journalists have had to learn a few hard lessons in recent months about balance, fairness, and facts. As Ted Koppel told us earlier this month during his visit to Merrill College, just because you have a laptop doesn't mean you are a journalist. But you are journalists. You know that your communities, indeed our democracy, needs timely, factual, fair, and insightful coverage of the issues that matter, whether they be a presidential election or a local zoning controversy. You will speak truth to power and shed light on the forgotten. Do not be discouraged by officials who lie, fraudsters who make up stories, social media networks that perpetuate falsehoods, and members of the public who will vilify you for your occupation. We are counting on you. We need you. Finally, you have worked very hard to earn your degrees. Thank you, and your families, for trusting us with your education. You have brought us great joy, and you make us very proud. Work hard, follow your inner ethical compass, value teamwork, which you have learned here at Merrill College, and be kind. If you do these things, you will do very well. Go out into the world and show everybody that you are Merrill made. Always consider Merrill College and the University of Maryland your home. Today, you join a vast network of fellow alumni who are making themselves a name in journalism, business, law, academia. We hope that you will always feel comfortable returning to the people and places that have helped you launch this next phase of your life. And make sure you always keep us up to date on the great things you are doing. Thank you to all of the faculty and administration members for participating today, particularly to the awesome Natalie Cosner for managing today's ceremony. And Dave Ottolini for serving as our announcer. Now, I hope you can all join us out in the beautiful foyer to offer your congratulations to our graduates. Have a wonderful day.